Hello, welcome. My name is Amber, and today I wanted to share with you about pelvic girdle pain and yoga. And the reason I wanted to share this video is simply to help inform actually some of the people that I work with, but also anyone who's watching the video. What can we do to support those who are yoga practitioners that have pelvic girdle pain, and what things should we avoid, basically? And I wanted to talk about this because in my prenatal yoga classes, I see quite a lot of women coming in with pelvic girdle pain, even in the postpartum yoga classes as well, to some extent in the non-pregnancy or non-birth related classes too. And the thing that strikes me is that the advice given for supporting or modifying poses when there's pelvic girdle pain it ranges all over the board, and there's a lot of confusion also on advice given through the internet and different YouTube videos. So today I just wanted to kind of narrow it down a little bit from the approach that I take, and this is one that is supported by the pelvic health physiotherapist that I work closely with, and so I wanted to share it with you. So what is pelvic girdle pain? Well, that would be pain that's in the pelvis anywhere. It's a general term. And where we most often hear about pain in the pelvis, especially during pregnancy, is going to be at the joints of the pelvis. And that's because we have that wonderful hormone relaxin that's kind of flooding through the body and helping to soften and loosen the joints so that the pelvis in particular can shape shift and be able to birth a baby. And so the joints I'm talking about are here right at the front, pubis symphysis, that's at the pubic arch. And then at the back, we have the sacrum, and on either side of the sacrum, you have the SI joints, the sacroiliac joints. You also have a coccygeal joint, but we tend to see inflammation appearing more in the SI joints, one or both, and then also at the front at the pubis symphysis. And so if you're having pubis symphysis pain, you might recognize that, but when any pain that's here at the pubic arch, it can sound like a clicking sound sometimes when you walk. And when you open the legs, when you move the legs away from each other into abduction, there can be a pain that comes down the inner groin. And this is most often connected with this joint, inflammation here, pubis symphysis. Or you could have both, there can tend to be pain in one or both of the SI joints. And this is often confused with lower back pain. A woman may say that she's having pain in the low back, and if you ask a little further, you might find out that it's actually on either side of the sacrum. This pain tends to move from one side to another, it can, and this pain can be extremely debilitating to where it's really difficult to even walk sometimes. And things that are done in asymmetry tend to aggravate it, like walking upstairs or walking up an incline, or even trying to shift your weight in bed and trying to get out of bed. That can also largely affect the pubis symphysis as well. And there can be other types of pain that we see too, like piriformis pain, which is that muscle that stretches over the glute cheek or the butt cheek. And sometimes that can mimic sciatica with this radiating pain that goes down the backs of the legs. And so if you have any of this type of pain, you want to tell your yoga teacher, and hopefully they're informed about what poses to include and what to avoid. And I just wanted to quickly go over those here, because the last thing we want to do is to aggravate this pain more, because it will get very challenging during pregnancy, especially as the weight of the baby is growing. And even postpartum, this pain can continue or persist, so we still want to be mindful about how we're approaching our yoga classes. So number one, for pubic symphysis pain, or the pain that's at the pubis symphysis on the front near the pubic arch, we want to avoid opening the legs into this wide spread, into abduction. Okay, so this would mean pretty much avoiding any pose where we are spreading the legs out, and also poses that have extreme external rotation, like sitting in butterfly pose with the legs all the way down to the ground, sitting in wide-legged straddle pose with the legs pressed all the way down to the ground, and forward folding. So these things can really aggravate pubis symphysis, and instead you want to try to keep the knees together in your poses and to support the legs in those external rotations so they're not so deep. And for sure, avoiding poses like malasana, like a deep squat as well. Now, the tricky one I find is actually the sacroiliac pain that's on either side of the sacrum. And that's because a lot of poses that we do might feel good in the moment, but then it's later on that they give a challenge or give a hard time. So this is the biggest concern I have is in prenatal yoga, we do a lot of hip opening. We do a lot of warrior twos, triangle poses, side angle stretches. And the thing is that whenever we do asymmetrical poses, so that's when one leg does not look like the other, this is going to aggravate the sacroiliac joint. And that's because, if you look again, the joints are on either side of the sacrum. So if you have one leg going one direction and one leg going another direction, it's going to create this imbalance back here, like a shearing effect almost. And so anytime we have asymmetry in the pelvis, it's going to further add to the inflammation that's at the joints. So really what we want to do, if you have that sacroiliac pain, you want to keep level hips, you want to keep asymmetrical poses. We do not want to go into anything asymmetrical, especially if it's extreme pain. So that would mean staying away from pigeon pose, staying away from those deep Anjani asanas, deep lunges, even if the knee's on the ground, staying away from our beloved warrior twos, triangle poses, side angle stretches. So basically anything that where you look down to your feet and you see, okay, my left foot is different than my right foot, or my left leg is in a different position than my right leg. Well, in that case, this is not the pose for you. We want to keep symmetry. And so where I like to work, if I know there's pelvic girdle pain, is first keeping symmetrical poses, okay, looking out for deep external rotations, focusing on internal rotations of the hips. This can be so helpful. Poses like Vajrasana or Virasana, if we're sitting on the, just kneeling pose, sitting on the heels or sitting on a block, that internal rotation can be really supportive. And same thing with poses like in downward facing dog. Try to add an internal rotation to the upper thighs so you widen the sitting bones apart. Okay, so that if I looked at the sitting bones, here's the sacrum, and then the sitting bones are here on the underside of the pelvis. So if we're doing internal rotation, we're going to widen them apart, widen the sitting bones apart. And this can be fantastic for helping to alleviate pelvic girdle pain. I also like to do that in a forward, wide-legged forward fold, but having the legs not too wide apart, really about the space of the yoga mat, and you can use the blocks or walls for support of the upper body, and again give that internal rotation of the upper thighs can be really helpful. So in addition to that, you could do poses that help to strengthen the adductors, so the inner thighs, always bringing the inner thighs together. That could be poses like bridge pose, where you put a block between the thighs, or chair pose, where you have a block between the thighs. So finding ways to encourage the adduction and keeping an eye out for level hips and not going too far into postures and poses. So I hope that these tips are helpful for you, and above everything, I would say if you are a practitioner, that when you go to your yoga class, you inform your teacher of your pelvic girdle pain. Make sure that they know about it and where it is in your body, if it's at the front or the back of the pelvis, or anywhere else. And then if you have the luxury, the time, and you have someone in your area, reach out for a pelvic health physiotherapy appointment, because these can be fantastic. These are specialists that work with pelvic health, and they can assess and kind of look at where's the asymmetry, where's the unbalance, and try to help correct that, and give you a little more insight on how to take care of it as well, and hopefully how to come through it. So thank you for listening, and if you enjoy these episodes, I would love for you to press the like button, to subscribe below, and I look forward to journeying with you further. Thank you again, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.